Hello, it's me, Civilla. I wanted to stop by to let you know I am going on hiatus. So this is kind of an episode. I guess I'll call it my hiatus episode. As you guys know, I do that every year, have been for the last 3 years or so. I take October and November off and just try to get some rest, which doesn't usually happen. I will definitely be working, completing blogs. I've got all these blog ideas, and I don't get to blog as often as I used to. So I'm going to take the 2 months to work on these blogs, and I'm going to post them. Some of them are childless, not by choice blog type subject matter, and some are not. So they will be placed in their appropriate places on the platform. But I'm looking forward to just getting these ideas out of my head and out of my audio recordings, because every time I come up with an idea, I record the audio. And it used to be a time when I could just grab a pen and paper and write it down, when the ideas come to me. But hey, tech, sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a lot of blog ideas rolling around on my audio, and I just want to go ahead and work on those, and I'll do that during this 2-month hiatus. So no new episodes for October and November, and then I'll be back in December with a fresh new episode. I'll also be working on planning episodes for 2023. Kind of late. I should probably start doing it a little earlier in the year, but September is not too bad. So I'm going to start from now. I've already written down a couple of ideas, and I'm already starting from now, and hopefully I'll have at least five episodes at least thought up by the time December or January rolls around. That's the thought. Anyway. And speaking of 2023 episodes, well, if you follow me on Instagram at Joy and Relevance, you heard my open call for 2023 episodes. So for details, visit my Instagram page, and I've pinned the audio to the top so that as things get buried, that's pinned to the top. In a nutshell, though, if you or someone you know might be interested in being interviewed for my Childless Not by Choice podcast in 2023, reach out to me at Civilla@CivillaMorgan.com. That's Civilla@CivillaMorgan.com. And of course, that information, along with tons of other things, are in the show notes. So be sure to check out the show notes for this and every episode. Please note, you must be childless, not by choice. In other words, never able to have the child or the children you wanted. Once I receive your email, I will schedule a time with you via my Calendly calendar for a pre-interview. This does not mean there will be a guaranteed interview. It will be a pre-interview. And honestly, I will not be able to interview everyone I speak to probably, but I don't want you to be upset or offended if I do not think we should follow through. I always put my listeners first. You all know this. I put them first, and I don't want to air episodes that I do not feel will add to them on this childless not by choice journey that we're all on. And I really do hope that you understand that. But I really want to put my listeners first, the childless not by choice listeners they're all in different places. We are all in different places on this journey, and some people are still having a really tough time with their childlessness. So I'm really careful. So again, don't be upset or offended if I say I don't think this is going to work for us. That's a possibility. Anyway, while I am away, please be sure to go back through the back catalog. I always say this, and listen to episodes you may have missed. Check out the website, childlessnotbychoice.net, and of course, join one of the Facebook groups. There's a couple of Facebook groups. There's a couple of pages, I think. I try to keep up with everything, but you can find me. The Childless Not by Choice with Civilla Morgan group is for women only who never had children, and the supporters of the Childless Not by Choice community Facebook group with Civilla Morgan is for everybody else. So if you are on Instagram, feel free to follow me there at Joy and Relevance for more content on Childless Not by Choice and for pictures. I love pictures, you guys. I love pictures. And speaking of pictures, I am also on Pinterest at Civilla1. I post our episodes there as well, and then I have thousands of pictures of every subject matter that matters to me, things that I like, things that I'm interested in. So thousands of pictures on Pinterest. So be sure to follow me at Civilla1 on Pinterest, at Joy and Relevance on Instagram, or search for me on Facebook. And of course, you know what? I don't mention this very often, but I do have 2 YouTube accounts. So, of course, if YouTube is your thing, you can find me on YouTube as well, Civilla Morgan. I don't know how I end up with almost 2 of everything, but I don't know. I have 2 YouTube accounts. It's probably the same, just about the same content on both accounts. I don't think that it matters which one you sign up on. There is one with all of the episodes, though, because every time I post an episode through my podcast hosting system, a copy is sent to YouTube every time. So maybe, I don't know, that might be the difference. Anyway, I'm on YouTube as well. So be sure to tune in there if YouTube is where you like to hang out. People like to hang out in different places. Some people are all about Instagram. They can't stand Facebook. Some people like Facebook. They don't understand Instagram. Some people prefer Twitter. Yes, I'm on Twitter, and yeah, I think I have 2 Twitter accounts. Oh my gosh. I don't know how these things happen, but I really do need to get all of this fixed. I've been saying that for years. But anyway, at Civilla1 on Twitter. It's not always about Childless Not by Choice, the content on there. Most of it is, but sometimes I post about other things as well. But it's at Civilla1 on Twitter, at Civilla1 on Pinterest, at Joy and Relevance on Instagram. I do have an at Civilla1 Instagram page, but I have to know who you are to accept you. I have accepted people I didn't know if I saw people we had in common, but that doesn't always work out either, as we all know. So I'm very hesitant to accept people at Civilla1. That's my private account. And I guess, I don't know. I don't know what it is about Instagram. I heard that this happens, but I don't get it. People will follow you, and then if you decide to follow them back, then they unfollow you so that they have more followers than people they're following. I mean, I heard about this years ago being a thing, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I am on YouTube, and then the podcast itself is just about everywhere. I always say that, but it's true. I mean, Apple, Stitcher, I don't know what podcasting apps really work on Android, what the best app on Android is. If you are an Android person and you listen to my podcast on your Android device, tell me how you like the podcast app on Android. But I do know that generally speaking, you can find the podcast just about everywhere as I look at my phone. Apple Podcast, of course, Overcast, Himalaya. I think it's on Luminary, Bullhorn, Podbean, Google Play Radio, Stitcher, and tons of other places. People are always asking me to allow them to put my podcast on their platform. So it's just about everywhere. And so any questions at all, let me know. What else do I want to tell you about? Oh, I probably don't, I think I do mention this just about every episode, but if you would like to become a monthly patron of the podcast, visit patreon.com/childlessnotbychoice.net. Again, that's in the show notes. If you'd like to make a one-time or every once in a while contribution to the platform, visit my PayPal account at booksbycivillamorgan@gmail.com. Every contribution, no matter how large or small, will go toward the podcast. It always has. In fact, I'll be quite honest, I'm thinking after 7 years of using pretty much the same equipment, definitely the same laptop and microphone, I'm doing an upgrade. I've been thinking about it. I've been wanting to do it. I want to change microphones, and I need a new boom arm. That's the arm that you hook your microphone into. I had one that clipped onto my old desk. I changed desks. I used to have a wooden desk with a lip so that you can just clip the boom arm onto it, but I've purchased instead one of those, white folding tables. It doesn't have much of a lip, and so I need a different boom arm. And so that's what I'm doing. So just so you know what's going on with your money when you send your money in, whether it's every month or every once in a while, it's for things like this, in addition to the monthly things like paying my podcast producer, paying my website manager, paying my podcast host for hosting the podcast file. Who else do I pay? My website, domain names, all of those things have to get paid. Some of them every month, some of them every 6 months or every 1 year, whatever it is. But those are things that are happening behind the scenes that allow me to bring you great content, I hope. So if you want to make a contribution, it would be greatly appreciated. And I thank you. Thank you to those who are making that contribution now. I have several patrons, and I'm appreciative. Really, I am appreciative of the fact that you are sending something in every month. So thank you very much. Well, I do. Oh, you know what? I do have one new piece of equipment. I bought it a few months ago. It's probably been more like a year, but it's one of those. It's an interface, and it's so scary to me that I haven't really used it like I should. But I took an hour of my podcast producer's time the other day, and he walked me through how to use it. So I'm going to start using that. So just in the vein of what I'm saying, the new equipment that I need, I'm doing that to see if I can monitor my guests better when I'm talking to them, which will give him less work. He's such a nice person. But if I can give him less work, I will, because everybody's got stuff to do. So anyway, that's that for equipment and all of that. So I have a story for you before I let you go. Story time. And really, I am telling you in the hopes that it will encourage you like it did me. So on the day I am recording this episode, Hurricane Ian is headed straight towards us. Every forecast says the entire state will be taking a hit. I mean, with hurricanes, that can always change, because earlier in the week or last week, they had said that it had started to trend west, which would be away from us, but they still feel like, it could hit all of us. And the entire state is currently under a state of emergency. And so today's Sunday. What's today's date? Today is the 25th of September. And so as of this taping, this recording of this episode, it's Sunday. Ian is headed our way. It'll probably be here somewhere midweek. And so I've already, and I'm working. So I work from home. I don't always get to see everything that's going on out in the world. When you work from home, you kind of miss things. And I feel like I missed, I fell behind the curve a little bit because I didn't realize what was happening. But anyway, once I realized that, hey, a hurricane is headed this way, I placed my curbside order at my local grocery store, so I didn't have to go in there and shop after work because, even though you work from home, it's still a long day. And so I placed my curbside order the day before, went to get it. And then today, which is usually my church day, you guys know me, I'm a church person. And today, instead, I had to go top off my gas tank in my vehicle, buy gas in a 5-gallon container for our generator in case we lose power. I still have yet to test the generator and make sure it works fine. And something I have never had to do before, I had to go fill sandbags. So I spent my Sunday morning buying gas and filling sandbags. I will be honest. I was feeling more than a little down this morning. Just much of the negative feelings that I had, though, came from the fact that I had lined up a guy to mow the lawn last week, and it fell through. It just fell through. And the grass was growing, and I wanted it to be mowed before the storm hit. Because if we get a lot of debris, I just didn't want to have to deal with high grass and debris because we have snakes where I live. I don't want to have to deal with all of that. So I wanted the grass cut so I could see what I was doing if I had to clean up debris. So anyway, I had no idea at the time that I originally wrote this what was wrong with the lawnmower. I'll tell you in a minute what was not wrong with it. So I was just like beside myself all day trying to figure out how to get the lawn mowed. And I posted a message in our community Facebook page, and I hadn't heard anything if anybody wanted to come help me by mowing my lawn. And so, I waited. And back to the sand for a minute before I tell you about the lawnmower. I got to the location where people were filling sandbags, and I backed up to a sand pile. They had multiple sand piles in this big field. And so I backed up to a sand pile, and then one of the gentlemen that was helping was like, why don't you use that sand pile over there? Because you have a clearer, path to getting into it instead of having to bypass this other vehicle. And I was like, oh, thank you. So I backed up to this other sand pile, and I realized that everyone had their own shovels. I didn't even know you had to bring your own shovel. Wow. So there were two women who had a shovel and a bucket. They offered me their bucket. I was so thankful because it saved me a trip to the local box store, because going home would have been out of the question. I was already too far away from home. And I started filling sandbags and putting them in my trunk. And another vehicle pulled up with two men and a little girl, and they started shoveling. Suddenly, one of the men said, why don't you use one of my shovels instead of using that bucket? And I was like, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And I handed the bucket back to the two nice ladies who had loaned me their bucket, thanking them. And then I started shoveling. I was trying to fill as many bags as I could because I knew I would have to give the shovel back when they were leaving, when the men were leaving. So several bags in, I heard when one of the men said to the little girl, go ahead, ask her. And suddenly the little girl says, ma'am, she was probably about 9 or 10, maybe 8, 9, or 10. She said, ma'am, would you like me to hold the bag open so you can put the sand in? And I was like, oh my gosh, these people are all making my day and they have no idea. I told her how kind she was and thanked her for her help. It looked like the men were finishing up, so I asked if they needed their shovel back, and one of them said, no, when we're finished, we will help you with your bags. I was like, wow. So all of these people who didn't even know each other and definitely did not know me, were helping me from a really low place. And I know I don't talk about the fact that I hit low places very often because, yeah, I'm maintaining a whole platform and a podcast, and that doesn't mean that I don't have my low moments. And today was one of those. They don't happen often, and I can typically just pull myself out of it because I'm like, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? It's got to get done. That's the attitude I typically have. It's got to get done, and never put off for tomorrow what can be done for today, which means there are times that I can really run myself ragged. So it's a habit that I try very much to break, but I don't like to put things off for tomorrow. I'm not that person. I've got my list and my day timer. I cross things off as they happen. And if I have to pen something for tomorrow, then I'll do it. But typically, who knows what tomorrow holds? I'm not going to put just everything off till the next day because I just don't feel like it or I'm tired. I don't get to not feel like it. And many of you who are caregivers probably know what I mean. You don't put things off. You can find yourself flat-footed in a flat-footed mess if you put too much off. So anyway, I'm telling you this story because I just want to remind you that if you ever feel like offering help to someone on this journey called life, do it. If they say no, it's on them. You did your part. If they say yes, you can feel good in knowing you are helping to make this crazy world a better place for someone. I just really, it was a lot of work. It was back-breaking work shoveling. Sand is heavy. I mean, I know a lot of people say snow is heavy. I've shoveled snow too when I was a kid. I know it. It can be heavy depending on the type of snow. But sand is heavy. And so the gentleman and another man came by and helped me with a few more bags. But I ended up with 23 bags of sand. But I think more importantly, I ended up feeling a little bit better after the morning starting off. Like, I couldn't get the lawnmower to start. Well, I got it to start, but I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, why it wouldn't move. It wasn't moving backwards or forwards. I'm like, I've never experienced this with the lawnmower before. And so finally, a neighbor from a few streets down reached out and said she would send her son to come mow the lawn. I was so thankful. The lawn is mowed. And then my next door neighbor came over in the meantime and found out that I had the emergency brake on the lawnmower, you guys. The emergency brake was on. I was like, seriously? There's an emergency brake on the lawnmower? Unbelievable. So, needless to say, the lawnmower works. He took off the emergency brake, showed me how to do it, how to, move the thing around. So I can go back to mowing again once the storm is past. But I'm thankful for awesome neighbors. Thankfully, we live in a place where everybody wants to help each other out, and I've always been thankful for that. And I'm thankful for the neighbors that I met today at the sand pile. They're neighbors, they're strangers, but they acted like neighbors and they acted neighborly. And that is what we need to do, because this world we're in right now, I mean, I don't care what country you're in, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. A lot of crazy beliefs have been unleashed. A lot of people are just angry. And let's not be a part of that. Let's be a part of the world that wants us to get back. People talk about getting back to normal. Normal is treating each other like human beings. That's what normal is. And so again, I'm really just thankful for everybody that God used today to help me feel better. Because like I said, this morning I was not in a good place trying to figure out how to get everything done to be prepped for this hurricane. And I wanted to read you this real quick before you go. It's a quote from Toby Mac Speaks. Toby Mac is a musician that I love. I have loved him from the 80s, you guys. He is awesome. And his platform puts out quotes almost every day, sometimes multiple quotes per day. And this one says, "Some stranger somewhere remembers you because you were kind to them." Unquote. Quote, "Some stranger somewhere remembers you because you were kind to them." Unquote. Is that cool or what? All I can say is I hope that my kindnesses outweigh my bad moments, bad attitudes, bad behavior. I know we're all human. None of us is perfect. I'm not perfect. But I hope that my kind days are many more than my not so kind days. And I hope the same for you. And you know how to reach me. Just give me 24 to 48 hours to respond. And remember, everything you need to know about this episode is in the show notes. Every episode has show notes, and I will see you in December. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.